Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. Hope everybody had a wonderful long holiday weekend, and if you were traveling, hope it was an enjoyable trip. Um, the earnings video is coming to you on Monday, so obviously, with the timing of it, means that Monday morning earnings will not be a focus here, nor will like Monday after the close. So we're going to start with Tuesday. All right. So before the open on Tuesday, a few Chinese tech names. Well, Chinese tech slash e-commerce names. Chinese tech slash solar names. Excuse me. Bazoon. So Bazoon, Momo, and then the third is the solar name JKS. I'm still I'm still pretty much wait and see on a lot of Chinese tech, but Jinko Solar, I mean, the solar names have been acting okay. This one doesn't look as interesting as some other like solar names, but you know, I mean, it does seem like there could be some potential if it's good and it gets up through like the low 60s. But you know, within like the solar space, there just seems to be better setups than this one. But maybe if it's like particularly good or surprisingly bad, maybe it could impact a few other names. But I don't think any of them are really going to be a focus for me. Tuesday after the close, this is when we start to get into the software names. Big week for software. So Salesforce, about 18 and a half points is what's priced in here. They had a solid quarter in August, and then they had a big move on their investor day in September, and the stock has really acted well up until just about this past week when it started to roll over. So it could be a decent snapback candidate if the numbers are strong. To me, though, and this is going to apply to a lot of these names reporting this week, it's really going to come down to how tech software acts this week, just in general, right? Like, is there going to be money moving back into the space, or is it still like that risk-off action because of the new variant, right? So, like, in terms of like a trade, like this, like the timing of this might be more of like a couple weeks versus like a couple days, just because, I mean, I guess I'm not convinced that all of like the overhang is going to be removed in a very short stretch. But you know, Salesforce will kind of get things going, and I mean, maybe if the numbers are good, you can get a decent snapback to where it was trading just like last week, the week before. Zscaler pricing in about 36. Numbers have been solid the past couple of quarters, but the stock is up a lot ahead of this print, and option pricing's high, so this is probably going to be an avoid for me. A good report could help other cyber names, though, and you have CrowdStrike and Okta reporting during the week, too, so definitely should be some attention on those names. Umbrella, it's about 22.5 is what's priced in here. Stock pretty much doubled. Actually, it did double at one point in November from when it reported last quarter here. So from 100 to 200. It's pulled back a little bit, but you know, you have to imagine there's going to be some interest here after that quarter. Expectations probably higher after the crazy run, so it's going to need to be good. But you know, maybe also like one where you could get a little bit of like a snapback if it's good, and it can get a little momentum back up into like the 190s, 200 area, right? But you know, with the pricing where it is, the expectations where they're at, I mean, it's going to have to be a pretty good report, and I'm on the fence with it. Before the open on Wednesday, nothing of interest. After the close on Wednesday, more tech. So CrowdStrike, big name, pricing in about 20. This and Okta have both been hit very hard over the past week, 2 weeks, and they're both well off their recent high. CrowdStrike has been more of a consistent deliverer around earnings, and it's also been a leader for a long stretch. So this could be a snapback candidate if they can turn in another strong quarter. Might not. That's probably not going to get all the way back up to a high, but I mean, if the numbers are good and it can get a little momentum back above 200 day, it's definitely some room. I mean, it's dropped really far, really fast. Okta, it's pricing about 19, so this one's also been hit really hard. Could be more of like a boom bust setup though, because you know, if it's particularly good or particularly bad, it could be a big mover just based off of how the technicals line up. You can see where it is, like technically on the downside at support, and it's way off its high. But if it's mixed, it might not be a very big mover. So it's definitely more of like a wild card, like speculative idea. But also like the option pricing could leave a little bit more room versus CrowdStrike though. So This might be like a spec idea for me in the middle of the week. Snowflake, about 31 points is what's priced in. Last quarter was solid for Snowflake, but the couple before that were saw some disappointing guidance. And then after the strong recent run, high, extremely high valuation. I'm just more in the wait and see camp on it. Plus, it hasn't really had a huge earnings move in a while, so I guess I struggle laying out 30 plus for options on it, especially after the run it's had. Elastic, so about 20 points was priced in, but those are monthly options. Definitely flies under the radar a bit in the software space, but it's been a pretty consistent name recently. Had a big beat and raise in August, but the stock didn't actually move much that day. And now it's actually below where it was when it reported last quarter. So the thing that's working against it is that they only have monthly options, so there's more time value with these contracts, but it could be an interesting speculative bull idea if the numbers are good, because it's down at the bottom of like trend support. And again, I mean, it's been pretty consistent around earnings lately. Five Below. So we've got some retailers report next week, or excuse me, this week too. About 17 points. What's expected here? I had a big move. Last quarter with the other dollar stores. It got hit really hard. It's come all the way back. So it's gonna be interesting to see what this one does, and also you have DG on Thursday before the open. So kind of like bam bam. Because Dollar Tree had a really big move after reporting this past week. Option pricing is not cheap, but it could still leave some room either way. And if I can get risk down, this might be something I look at for a volatility strategy or DG. So this is Thursday before the open. So this is kind of like a similar thinking. This is priced in 11.5, and of the two, I feel like DG maybe leaves a little bit more room option-wise, though Five Below historically has been more volatile around earnings. It just seems that like DG has a gap. I mean, it's way off its low, it's still off its high. It seems like from the pricing perspective, DG might leave a little bit more room, but I mean, I feel like these two setups are fairly similar right now. And then Five Below is Wednesday after the bell and Thursday before the opens DG, so it could be a pretty busy Thursday for the dollar names. Also Thursday before the open is Kroger, so about 270 is what's expected. Haven't traded in a while, but it does tend to move on earnings. It dumped after last quarter. I was here, and hasn't recovered yet. So it moved 4 on this report in September, but this week's straddle is only priced in 270. So if it's in line with last report, maybe the options leave some room. Maybe, but I'm not sure I'm going to be involved with that. Thursday after the close, so more tech. Asana, about 20.5 points of what's priced in, but those are monthly options. I imagine numbers are probably going to be pretty solid this quarter. It's just really hard to determine what's priced in and what to expect from the stock, because like Snowflake, the valuation is really, really high on this, and expectations are also high. Plus, options are only offered in monthly increments, right? So that extra couple weeks of time value kind of drives up the prices. And for me, there might just be too many question marks to get involved. So I might leave it alone on earnings, but then look at it like right after the report comes out for maybe like a quick swing trade. DocuSign priced in at about 22 points. So Zoom disappointed again, got hit. That dragged DocuSign lower. The question is really like, can DocuSign turn into solid print like it did in September? Because then if it can, maybe it can squash some fears, maybe get a little bit of like a snapback bounce. Pricing is not cheap, but it does seem like a decent setup for a volatility strategy, especially when you factor in the technical setup too, with the stock hovering right around this key 200-day. But I'm going to need to see how the week goes. Because if it's still risk off and they're not paying any of these earnings plays, then it might just be something I leave alone. Marvell, so about 5 points is what's expected here. Solid, trending, semi, got a big bump on its investor day. Also had a decent quarter when it last reported. It does feel like the stock wants to go higher, but I mean, I'm just a little bit more hesitant with tech stocks that are at 52-week highs right now, going into earnings. Again, it's this whole like if we're in like this risk-off environment and stocks that are right at their highs seem to have a higher bar, and when you factor in like higher option pricing, it just makes like tougher setups. But it could be like a decent swing trade focus after the print, so I'll definitely keep an eye on that one. And then lastly, Thursday after the close, Alta. Oops. So the pricing about 28 points. It's working on a big monthly resistance level up here around 410, 415. I'm just not sure how much movement to expect this week because it had a huge move on its investor day in October, and it's come all the way back. But then stalled at resistance again. So it's definitely an interesting technical setup. But my rule of thumb is usually to avoid stocks on earnings that have already guided during the quarter, which Alta did. So it's kind of a tough call. I'm on the fence with it. Maybe if the option pricing keeps coming down during the week, maybe it'll be something I take a shot on. But right now, I'm on the fence. And then lastly, before the open on Friday, Hibbett. So about 11.5 points was priced in, but those are monthly options. Dix had another strong beat and raise, but the stock was hit. So we'll see what Hibbett does. Because definitely mixed signs, right? Numbers are good, stock goes down, kind of like a tough scenario. But if Hibbett does snap back and get above 100, there's some room. I mean, it's been kind of like a triple top, like high 90s, 100 area. So only monthly options. So I feel like if I did anything, it'd have to get risk down, just because paying for all that extra time value definitely removes some of the potential on it. But also could maybe look at Dix as like a sympathy play. I mean, if Hibbett has like a big rebound, it might help Dix recover a bit too. So you can see, I mean, still a lot of big names, especially software. So it's going to be a busy week. Couple that with all the volatility that just popped up, and should be a busy few days. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a great night, stay well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.